Ladies and gentlemen, the Kids in the Room podcast. Kids in the Room podcast.
That's right. That's right.
Brought to you by Move Faces TV.
Woo! All right. Hey guys, welcome to the Kids in the Room podcast. Today we got Ricky Liorti. Did I butcher that shit?
Liorti, yeah.
Liorti. Yeah, so we got Rick on the actual show, man. Rick, how you doing? And tell everybody, what's your specialty? What do you do?
Good. Hey, first off, thanks for having me. It's my first time on a podcast in a little while, and my first time being a guest on one in a few months. So I appreciate you having me all the way from Northern California. And I am a co-founder of a new social media app called Cast. So we'll dive into that, chat a little bit about that, and maybe even the podcast and the podcasting world, since we were talking a little bit off air about that.
Yeah, man, the podcasting world, man. I mean, yeah. I don't know. That's just wild. So you started out a little bit of backstory of where you kind of been. Let's start on the original journey of how you got where you are now. And, I know you said you also worked at Sony. There was some other stuff that was going on originally before that. Let's walk through it.
I'll give you the whole life story, man. I love this. So love marketing, love just being around people, kind of events, marketing, lifestyle. So when I was younger, I went to school. I went to a university in Canada called the University of Western Ontario. I was there for 4 years. During my time there, I started an events company with one of my best friends, funny enough, called Crowned Entertainment. Again, not another original name for a company, but we were like the kings of nightlife. That's what we like to self-proclaim ourselves. I did that for about 7-8 years, and I loved it. And that kind of opened up the music world to me. I did some stuff with Sony, through a lot of events, concerts, parties, anything that university students would like. And I had a blast doing it. We threw concerts with Avicii, some other DJs like Above and Beyond. We tried to do some rappers. We hosted some events for Toronto Film Festival, which was super cool. So I did that for a while and I loved it. Then, as you know, we get old and you can't live this kind of Peter Pan lifestyle forever where you can just pretend to be young forever. And, the events got old for me and I got tired. So I stopped doing that for a bit, and then I kind of moved into something else. I was working my family business, and I love it, but I've always had that entrepreneurial kind of mindset with me. So me and one of my best friends started our own podcast, another little business, and me and you were talking off air about that, but it's not as easy as everyone thinks. So we did that, and then during that time, it was called the Pals Podcast. We got to talk to some amazing people, and we got to interview and sit down with Olympians, NHL players, musicians, entrepreneurs, a whole different mindset of people. And we had a big blast doing that. And then COVID happened. Obviously, COVID, the C word that everyone hates to talk about now, but hopefully it's coming to an end. During COVID, we started our own social media app, and we are slowly trying to take over the social media landscape and really kind of change the mentality behind it. Right now, there's all that negative kind of connotations associated with social media companies, stealing data and being kind of a place of deep dark web like Reddit and all those things. And Facebook's in the news 24/7 now, and the whole metaverse thing. But we wanted to create our own safe space online for people to share their opinions and see what the world really thinks, because we found that there wasn't a place. So we created an app called Cast. So you can ask any question you want, vote anonymously, and see instant, honest answers from the internet. And that's what kind of led me here. So we just completed a 50-day road trip throughout the U.S. promoting the app on a 36-foot RV. And we just completed. Now it's kind of back home and back to the grind.
Awesome. Man, so wait a minute. So you went on you created a new app, Cast, and the app actually helps us do what again? I just want to make sure we're clear on that. Make sure the audience is clear.
So what we wanted to do when we created is we wanted to create a safe space online for people to share their opinions and then see instant, honest answers of what people think. Right now, if you have a question and you're curious, you go to, let's say, Google, and you type in your question. Well, you're going to get a million different searches. You're not going to get something quick and easy. Yeah, maybe if it's how to cook pasta, you'll get a fair answer. But let's say you want to know what people think about your outfit, or maybe your podcast, or maybe your career change, or whatever it may be. You can post a question on Cast and people will vote. You give them 4 options, 3 options, 2 options, whatever. And people will just vote anonymously, so they're sharing their honest opinions. That's, again, the problem with social media today. You can't always share your honest opinions without the fear of social pressure, backlash, fear of reprisal, whatever it may be. So sometimes people don't share their opinions. You just you see a poll on Instagram. If I know, let's say you're a Republican and I'm a Democrat, and I see you post this question, I'm not going to vote on it because I don't want to piss you off. Me and you are buddies now. So I'm just going to skip the question. Well, when you skip the question, you're basically saying your opinion doesn't matter. So what we wanted to do is create a safe space online for people to share their honest opinions and then see what the world really thinks about, today's hot topics, current events, news, or whatever else there's on their mind.
So what is it, like anonymous or like what?
Yeah, so all the questions and all the comments have your name attached to them. We didn't want to create, like the deep dark web where people can ask like really offside and dark stuff. So the questions and the comments have your name attached to it, but the voting is 100% anonymous because then you're allowed to share your honest opinion. Sometimes, again, you have partners that you maybe disagree with on certain things and you don't want to tell them they're wrong. So you just don't say anything. Well, again, not saying something isn't the right answer. So we, again, want to give people a space to share their opinions and then more importantly, see what the world really thinks.
Yeah, what the world really fucking thinks. This is interesting. All right, Rick. So we're going to...
There's so many times you see a stat online and it's like, 80% of Americans think X. Well, is that what they really think? Or is that just what the people, who are over the age of 50 think? Or is that what just a loud minority is saying on behalf of a silent majority? You see trending topics on Twitter and Reddit and all these things. Well, is that what people really think? Or is that just what a small section of Twitter users are saying? So that's kind of the gist of it.
But how do you do that without tying, your real identity towards that? So is it like anonymous or like what?
Yeah. So how it works is that when you sign up, you put in your, you should obviously have a username, and we want people to create authentic profiles and be their true self. So you put in your profile, you can upload a picture, a bio, you put in your gender and your age. Once you vote, so again, the voting is 100% anonymous. I ask, let's see, should Donald Trump get his Twitter back, for example? I ask that question. My name's attached to that. When I vote or when you vote or when anybody votes, nobody can see how that person voted. Nobody can even see if that person voted. All you'll see is that a 30-year-old male voted X. You'll never know that it's me. Or you'll see that, 50% of people under the age of 30 think X or Y, whatever it may be. So once you vote, your username goes one way, your demographics stay on the page, and that's what's the important part.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. That's cool. It's interesting. Yeah. And what and I didn't grasp this. I know you might have explained this earlier, but maybe I'm slow to grabbing this right now. Maybe it's the lack of coffee. But what made you want to just do this out of anything else? I mean, because you came from a long, journey from doing a bunch of miscellaneous different things, and now you came to here. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I never thought I'd say I'm a tech entrepreneur. Definitely that. And even internally with our team, everyone I'm the least techie person. The reason why is a couple different things. One, I got tired of seeing, things on social media that I didn't align with or I didn't believe in, and I couldn't say something, whether it's a social issue, political issue. I would see things and I just couldn't say anything because I didn't want someone to get mad. I didn't want to, get in a fight with these keyboard warriors, and I didn't want to piss people off. These are my friends that I see posting these stuff, and I'm like, you're so wrong. You're so wrong. And I disagree with you. Maybe they're not wrong, but I disagree. But I'm not going to jump in there and comment on my best friend's picture, because he thinks all lives matter instead of Black Lives Matter, whatever the case may be. I'm not going to jump in there and start saying, hey, you're wrong, man. It's Black Lives Matter, not all lives matter. Because then he's going to jump back down my throat and we're just going to go back and forth. It's like, man, I think you're wrong. That's my opinion. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. So that was one reason behind it. And then the more important was during COVID, and this is the best example, you would see these stats, 80% of Americans or 80% of Canadians are scared of COVID, or they're tired of dealing with the lockdowns or whatever it may be. And you try and find those stats, you try and find that research paper, that document, we polled 1,000 people. Okay, well, who did you poll? How did you poll them? How old are they? Are they from suburbs? Are they from metropolitan cities? Are they young? Are they old? Are they men? Are they women? How do they identify? There's so many different things. On Cast, exactly how they're polled on a mobile app. Their age, their gender, these things. And then soon we'll even have the location feature set up so we can say, okay, you know what? You might have polled 20,000 people and 10,000 of them think X. On Cast, you can see that 10,000 of them think X. 50% of people under the age of whatever think Y. I don't know, males think this way, females think that way. So that's kind of the idea behind it and how we started. But those two main things, we want to be able to see real information, see real data. And then the second part is being able to share our opinions, because online it's getting tougher and tougher to share our opinions because, again, like those things, social pressure, fear of reprisal, cancel culture is the big one right now. Like everyone's getting canceled for things they said 10 years ago. And it's like, like Dave Chappelle made a joke 10 years ago. It was fine 10 years ago. Why are we bringing it back up to cancel him now? Let him say what he wants. He's a comedian. But God forbid I say something like that in today's society and you get canceled. So that's a little bit kind of behind it and the reasoning behind it, why we think we're doing something good in the world right now.
Awesome, man. I mean, Rick, I understand, man. Cancel culture is it's definitely a disease, right? I mean, at some point I get cancel culture, but I don't. It just, at some point it kind of lost us. It's just gotten too extreme, you know?
Yeah, I think there's times like, Bill Cosby. Okay, that's rightfully so. You got to cancel that man. And then you have, people like Kevin Hart got canceled from hosting the Oscars or something last year because of something he said 5 years ago, I think. Whatever it may be. Well, times are different now. Times are changing. He evolved. He grew. He realized what he did, or maybe didn't. Maybe that's a bad example. I don't know. But people change. Times change. I think people shouldn't be canceled majority of the time, in my opinion. Shouldn't be canceled for things that they said 10 years ago that was politically okay 10 years ago. If eating meat is bad in 50 years, are all the people who had farms today going to get canceled?
I don't know, man.
It's acceptable to eat meat, right?
I don't know. I mean, I think everybody has an opinion. I think you can keep on going on and on about these varying opinions. And it's like, we could all say, this person was wrong. We think this guy was this person. Bill Cosby was this guy and Kevin Hart was wrong. I think there's always going to be this opinion where it's just going to be like, hey, this person's wrong, this person's right. And it's never going to be an opinion that is going to be widely, accepted. It's always going to be this hint of gray almost to an extent, because then there could be so many different arguments, even about guys like Bill Cosby. We could argue, but I don't think this is correct. I don't think people will accept these type of arguments because our society now is still cancel culture. So you can't even say anything towards that. So you can't give an opinion, because if the opinion doesn't, go with the majority of the crowd, then it's cancel culture. And then it's about, you are not aligning with the victim, right? So anytime now when somebody says they're a victim, if you disagree with that, you're not aligning with the victim. So automatically the victim is always the winner, or is the victim, even if it may not be 100% true. Not saying that is false or true or whatever about Bill Cosby per se, but just the idea of now that we have so many different ways that we can, identify. Well, we have one way to identify who is the victor and who is the victim. And the victim typically is the one who is done wrong. Even if you don't ever know if they're lying or not. Now, by automatically saying you're the victim and declaring that, you dismiss any, naysayer. You dismiss any wrong of any sense. So even if you are lying about something, I'm the victim. That's why you had like guys like what was the guy Jussie? I forgot the guy who said like white supremacists jumped him and beat him up. I forgot his the
guy from Power.
Yeah, no, it wasn't Power. We don't want to damage 50's name, but it was a guy from. It was not from Power, guys. It was from what was that? Empire.
That's it.
Yeah, Jussie.
Close enough.
Yeah, something like this. Yeah. The half African American, half Jewish guy. Yeah. Jussie Moose. Yeah. I forgot to say his last name. But anyways, yeah, that guy. So he supposedly said the white supremacists jumped him, but it was like 2 or 3 different African dudes, which was like comical. But see, even that though, if we didn't have that evidence and he just says he was the victim, it's wrong for you to challenge him because he's a victim. I dare you question the victim. But if some people didn't find that evidence and somebody didn't question that, we would have never found out it was false.
Yep.
I mean,
that's why in today's society, it's becoming harder and harder to say things online because, again, everyone has a problem with everything that gets said in today's society.
Dude.
Like if you really...
I mean, like, Rick, sorry, I got really fucking excited. I mean, like... When we were fucking, like, we were kids, you could run around and you'd play freeze tag, and freeze tag was it was supposed to be something that was not a bad thing to do. But I mean, people were, tagging each other, tapping each other, and people were, figuring out shit at a young age. And, how much stuff if you really went back into like elementary school, was taboo and would be considered something to cancel you for now?
It happens. There's so much. My favorite example, and I use this one all the time, is The Office. The Office is in my opinion, one of the funniest TV shows kind of ever created. Like, especially like Steve Carell, John Krasinski, Dwight, whatever his real name is. The stuff that was said in that show in today's society is so offside. Like, they make so many racist jokes, sexual jokes, workplace harassment. There's every episode you can find something wrong with. 20 years ago or 15 years ago when that show was created, was it right? No, it was comedy, and that's what it was viewed as. In today's society, it's becoming tougher and tougher to do anything because you can find something wrong with everything. Now, I'm not saying it's right or I'm not saying it's wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying is that people should be allowed to make jokes or have an opinion on certain things without being canceled or without being yelled at from the rafters. Like, I laughed on a joke on Instagram the other day. It was just a joke, and I laughed at it. I put like LOL or something, and I got chirped. They're like, "Oh, what? You don't know what it's like?" I'm like, "What? It's a joke. You don't know what it's like to be made fun of. You're not this." I was like, it was clearly a joke. I think the person who posted it as a joke. I laughed. I think that's what it's intended for. Yeah, but you don't know what it's like, whether it's a joke or not. I was like, all right, man, you're right. I'm wrong. Sorry. Apologize. I just won't say anything next time. I will just not comment. Not worth it. I'll just laugh on the inside, and that's it. Because everything you do online can be like misinterpreted as something bad. And that's kind of why we created Cast. Like, we don't want people to not be afraid to voice their opinions or to share their opinions. So at least on Cast, it's, you see a joke, or you can post a joke on Cast, you can post an outfit, you can post whatever you want. Obviously, as long as it's not like offside and stuff. But you can post what you want, and people can say, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that's not funny. Yeah, that's this. Yeah, that's that. No, and nobody will know how you voted, so you don't have to be scared. But then once you post it or once you vote, you can see what people think. You say, hey, most people did find that funny, or hey, most people did like this, or most people didn't like this. Like, where you stand amongst the group. How many people agree with you versus how many people disagree with you. And that's kind of the idea behind it. It's like, in today, do people really like cancel culture, or is it just the loud people online who support cancel culture, and then the rest of us just kind of watch from the sidelines?
I don't know, man. I think it's a trendy thing. I think it's all the people who weren't cool in school and didn't have an opinion. Now they all have a voice, and most of them are working for all the, media and production companies and stuff like that. And so now it's just like, oh yeah, remember that guy picked on me in fucking school? Cancel. It's like,
I'm gonna read through every tweet that he's ever tweeted.
Like, who has time?
I'm gonna find the one where he did something bad. That's what happens.
It's political police.
It's literally, it's like, sometimes it's, okay, the stuff I said when I was 15, who knows? I wasn't educated on a lot of these topics that are major social or political issues in today's society. I wasn't. So who knows what I would have posted? Mind you, I don't think Twitter wasn't around when I was 15, or neither was Facebook or anything. So I think I'm in the clear, but
I mean, you got to go back and look at love letters you might have written. Those love letters you might have written. And the girls are
Post-it notes that you handed around,
right? Yeah. They're like saving them. Like, oh, I remember he wrote this about me. He told me to go blah blah blah.
Man. Gotta check the desk I used to carve my name into. See, make sure there's nothing under there. Right?
There you go. Right? We can totally incriminating yourself. But no, what is the precursor of, like, I think of cancel culture is grammar Nazis. The ones that just sat there, they were the precursor to cancel culture. They sat there and waited for you to make one grammar mistake. You could be talking to 5 different people. Maybe you're intoxicated. Maybe you're screaming. Maybe you're having a great time. And you're just like, you saw someone on Instagram or Facebook real fast. And you just start typing something real fast. You didn't pay attention to the grammar, and then somebody's like, hey, you spelled that real wrong. Or, hey, you didn't put an apostrophe there. You're like, oh God, you're just ignorant. And it's just like that. To me, that's the precursor of cancel culture. Yeah.
Man, I can't wait for my friends to listen to this podcast, because I'm the guy that spells everything wrong. Because it's social media. I don't care. I'm just typing away. Half the time I'm doing something else. I type away and I send it. And all my friends are like, oh, you spelled this wrong. Guys, who cares?
Yeah. I mean,
who cares?
It didn't exist with MySpace. It exists with Facebook recently in the past 5 years. That's why I say totally it is the precursor to cancel culture, because that was the people that were just bitching about little shit, saying, oh, wait a minute, you didn't do this perfect. And that's the same type of people that we have now. It's just like, it's just spread like a virus, you know? It's and now you have little mini, you have little mini patrollers
Cancelers.
who, mini cancer. There we go. That's it. Mini cancer. That's the word I was looking for. Mini cancelers who just go around and they're just like, you know, they're backing up or standing up for the main ones who are kind of setting the social media tone. And it's just like, it's like you almost can't stop it now. It's almost like a force that it's created itself, and it's just like living. It's like a virus. It's like COVID, you know. It's
and that's man, you're 100% right. That's what we're trying to change. Like look again, like you said earlier, cancel culture in certain situations and certain circumstances is 100% real, and it should be. You know, people that do these really bad things and that are unapologetically or they're unapologetic, whatever it is, they deserve to be canceled. They deserve to have everything taken from them.
I mean,
you hear about some of these athletes that do these terrible things, or these politicians, and they get away with murder sometimes. And let's give it to them, because they should get canceled.
But they're not getting canceled.
No, they're not, because
they're not getting canceled.
Power sometimes, but sometimes, and then sometimes you have people that just make an honest mistake and they issue apologies and they apologize, and the world should accept their apology and move on, as long as they make an effort to educate themselves and change, because, again, people make mistakes. That's how life works. You shouldn't lose your job and your livelihood and this and that because of something you tweeted 5 years ago, when you had 10 beverages and you weren't paying attention. So that's kind of why one of the big reasons we wanted to create a place like Cast. Like, we want people to share their opinions, share their thoughts, and not be scared of, do I have an unpopular opinion? Should I be getting canceled for this, or should I? And I'm using the word cancel a lot. I'm not like one of those guys who's like cancel culture. No, it's just, again, share your opinions. If you have an opinion, like, that's how you learn. If you share your opinion, if you have healthy discourse and you engage in these conversations, that's how you learn. So there's times where I've voted on things and I've been wrong.
I mean, what if you've put it, Rick, like, sorry about that. I just want to chime in. I want to give you some idea. Yeah. What if you put Cast on the blockchain, and you let all the people in the blockchain invest in Cast?
Man, I'm interested. We're into like everything. We're interested. Right? Like, right now, we're on Reddit. Like we scour the internet for people that want to share their opinions, right? And the big thing for us is, like, just see what people think and educate yourself. Right?
Well, the reason why I was saying that, Rick, is because I think if we're learning anything about the future, is a lot of people are kind of they're kind of like burnt out from the whole one person or one entity or a group of people running things. Right.
Yeah.
And if you do things on the blockchain, it can be dictated by the people. Right. Whereas, bigger entities, I'm not going to say any names, are ran by a small group of people. And I think that's really what people are tired of, the policing of that, because there wouldn't be any, partial issue to, the whole policing is also, or cancel culture is also that there's a group of people who just control who gets to say what as well. You see guys like Trump, who was on Twitter and got kicked off, not a big fan of what Trump's, when he opens his mouth. But let the idiot say what he wants to say. I think he might do better things in policy than he does in speaking. Once he speaks, it's just kind of like, what the hell did you just say, dude? Seriously? Like, you just killed it. You killed it.
Yeah. And again, like, even on that, I have friends that are Trump supporters, and to each their own. I'm not one to be like, oh, we can't be friends because you support this person.
Right.
If you're a Biden supporter, I can't be friends.
Right.
Like, look, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but God forbid you go to a Trump supporter and say, hey, I don't support Trump. They're like, well, you're an idiot, blah, 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 blah. Or vice versa.
Vice versa, yeah.
Supporter, you're like, hey, I'm a Trump supporter. They're like, you're a sexist, racist, blah, blah. It's like, oh.
Get out of here.
He lowered my tax bracket, or hey, maybe he helped somebody do whatever policies that you support, whatever kind of side of the political landscape you land on. It doesn't matter. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. That's the best part about a democratic society. You can vote and you can have your opinion.
But see, are we really a freaking democratic society, though? Because of that, because of the fact that you have to be either or. You have to be binary,
left or right.
Right. Like, are we really democratic? Like, that kills the point of being democratic is you should be able to speak freely of why I vote for this person, and that person. You know, as long as you're not really insulting somebody, I think that's the kind of like social integrity we should have. As long as you're not insulting people, that is fine. You can believe and vote for whoever you want. I think the insulting thing is more like a social thing that you shouldn't do. Your parents should have raised you well to be able to bypass that. But yeah.
Politics is not about what I can do. It's what this person can't do. You know, every ad is just about every ad or debate. It's not like, oh, hey, this is what I'm going to do. It's like, no, that person sucks and he's not, or he or she is not going to do that. Let's just blame them for everything. It's like, hey guys, like, why don't you tell me what you're going to do and why you're going to do it the best and why I should vote for you instead of this person sucks and they suck because of this reason and that reason. Right? Like, oh, guys, settle down a bit. You see ads all the time. Like we see them in Canada too. It's not just in the States. We see ads all the time, just parties bashing other parties. And sometimes they're not even playing fair. It's not like we're going to bash the other parties equally. No, this person's got the best chance of winning. So we're going to bash him or her the most. You guys align more than you and them. Why wouldn't you bash the other person that you don't align with at all? Why are you bashing this person? Because they have the best chance of winning. So let's bash them so they don't win. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's the world's a crazy place, and we're just trying to kind of bring light and just allow people to just be themselves online. And that's what we're trying to do, at least. You know, it's an uphill battle because you got a lot of things that go against us. So
yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Rick. Totally. I agree with you. I think the problem is, you know, in general, or one of the problems is that I could identify is that we live in a way where now everybody wants things to be their opinion and that is it. And anybody else who disagrees with that is an idiot. And that's how polar things are. You know, if you're a Democrat, you know, you believe in Democrats, you believe every Democrat is right. If you're a Republican, you believe that all Republicans are right. And, you know, it's just so polar on each side. It's just like this binary thing. Either you are or you aren't. And I feel like we're moving towards a world where it's about a hint of gray, right? I mean, I feel like things are just so mixed and there's beginning to be more variety. And it's like, how do you label everything now going from now to the future? You know what I mean? Like, even like how people try to like, the idea of race is a colonialistic structure that was created during those times. Before that, if you were from France, you were from France and you were French. If you were from England, you were from England. You weren't white. You know, that didn't really make any fucking sense, right? If you were from, you know, Saudi Arabia, you're from Saudi Arabia. You weren't Arab, right? I mean, it's just like these things that exist after the structure to identify and label. How is that going to work in our new world, especially in the Americas? I mean, Latin America, that it's been pretty much, you know, demolished. And I think the problem is people try to come to the United States and they try to use those same principles that they have in the United States that don't match with Latin America due to so much mixing throughout 400 to 500 years, right? Where here we try to label things still. So we want to hang on to these labels so we can organize things nice and neatly. But it's like, how do you do that in a future that's such a mixture and such a variety? You know, you can't hang on to the fucking labels because the labels, they just don't work. They don't scale, right?
Well, it's crazy because at the end of the day, we're all equal. Everyone is the same. We all come from the same kind of place. At the end of the day, we're all humans. We all have hearts. We all have brains. We all have whatever it is that makes us humans. And that's the problem in today's society. It's like, whoa, no, technically we're not all the same. This person's better because that person has more money, or, you know, this person has more followers on Instagram than that person. So, you know, that's the problem. Like, you see all these times where you have celebrities that say something, and just because they got millions of followers, it becomes fact. Well, it's like, no, that's wrong. You know, there's fact, and then there's what people conceive as fact. And, you know, like, again, it ties back to Cass. Like, you have, let's say on Instagram, if Kim Kardashian decides that the sky is red, there's millions of people that are going to believe the sky is red, when we know that's not fact. Because she has such a big influence, she's got such a big following. She can say whatever she wants, and half the time people are going to believe it because it's Kim Kardashian. And in reality, that's not true. So that's what we did. Like, every vote is one. Doesn't matter if you have a million followers, you got no followers. Doesn't matter what gender you are, what race you are, what anything.
Or race is you are, right?
Yeah, what races you are.
See, that's what I'm saying.
And when you go to vote, Yeah, you go to vote. There's no upvoting and downvoting because you see it on Reddit all the time. Or, there's a poll on Reddit and someone says, "Oh, well, I think X, Y, and Z," and people keep upvoting. Well, it's like, well, maybe that wasn't true. Maybe just people upvoted it because it aligned with what they believed in. Well, that doesn't necessarily make it true just because you believe it. There's facts sometimes, and it's like, guys, like let's all, let's see what people think. Let's all share our opinions and let's all vote. And at the end of the day, just like elections, each vote counts as one. Because you got 20 million followers or you got $100 billion doesn't make you get more votes than I do. It's nice that I have the same amount of votes as Jeff Bezos. We got richest man in the world or whatever. And he goes to vote and I go to vote. We get the same amount. So,
except one might have more influence. One might have more influence, can change a lot of the people's votes.
Oh, yeah. Well, that one person's got billions of dollars and he can, support whatever party he wants and give all the money. And again, that's the problem.
Put some social media on there.
He says, I'm voting X or Y. And he can post that and spend all this money to make it. People are going to be like, oh, well, he's Jeff Bezos. He's a multi-billionaire. He must be right. I'm going to do what he does. And, sometimes it's good in the world to follow the smart, rich people because, they've obviously made some good decisions. But sometimes it's, hey, do what's best for you. Do what you think is right. You don't follow your brain, your heart, your vision. So that's kind of what we did. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, I think it's like there's a weird area or gray space of like what was cool and trendy during the time, and then also what was ethnically or ethical at the time. So, for example, guys like Bill Cosby putting Quaaludes and all kinds of shit in people's drinks, and it's like during that time, was everybody doing that type of shit? And it's like he got busted, but I'm very sure he wasn't the only guy in Hollywood popping Quaaludes in people's drinks.
Oh, definitely not.
You know what I mean? But like, how many people do we go after? And what reason do we go after him specifically versus all the other people who were popping Quaaludes during that time? Because I'm pretty sure it was a trend and it's just everybody else didn't get busted for it or it just wasn't a thing. It seems like maybe he was doing something at the time that triggered, the system to come after his ass and say, oh, he's doing this. Yeah, let's bring up that Quaalude shit. Hey.
Hey, I don't know. I don't know too much about it. I do believe.
I don't either. I'm just talking shit.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, there's certain times like remember the Epstein stuff too. Like he was involved in this crazy racket of whatever he was involved in. Some wild stuff. Look, does he deserve to die? Okay, maybe not. Like does he deserve to be in there? But hey, the powers above, or maybe not the powers above. I don't know.
The powers that run shit, we're down with them.
Yeah, they had other plans, so who knows? But at the end of the day, there's kind of circling back to cancel culture. There's times where people deserve to be canceled, and I strongly believe that Cosby was one of those times, and Epstein, and I'm on that side too. He deserves to get canceled. The R. Kellys of the world, and I shame to say this because I love R. Kelly. Like his music was. It's all I listened to in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And it's like, hi man, like, yo, you like, that's kind of messed up what you did. So that one, I get certain things like that. But then there's other times it's like, hey, a comedian made a joke 10 years ago. Like,
I don't know. And see, that's where things get really, really weird, right? Because then it's like, we weren't there and we really don't fucking know. We don't know what the motives are of why people say things they say and if it was real and if these things happen. And then that's the problem with cancel culture is we can't even question it when one person states that they're a victim. We're not allowed to even question or dig in. I mean, it's just like we're not allowed. I mean, so like even for the point of
on Cast you can on Cast
on Cast you can obviously you can go to Cast and you can sign up. You can say what you want. Do what you want.
Well, no, you can. Yeah, you can ask. Let's say I don't know. Let's say we can use the Bill Cosby just because we mentioned. You can say, hey, do you think Bill Cosby was guilty? Let's say you believe that he wasn't, which, again, everyone's got their own opinions. You can just vote. Nobody will know how you voted. Nobody's going to know that you supported him. Nobody's going to know that you think he was innocent or whatever. And there's no one that can come after you because, again, it's anonymous. Nobody knows how you voted. And that's like the reason why. Imagine if you are a Bill Cosby supporter right now online. You're going to get canceled immediately.
Right.
You're like, I stand with Bill Cosby. He's my buddy. I stand with him. Like, you're done.
Right.
Oh, you're done instantly.
But
there are people that probably do support him.
But, I don't really think, supporting is a big word, like how the fuck can you support somebody that you don't know? Like, you don't know what Bill Cosby did. You don't know how far in depth of what he was involved in. Because once you're involved with any type of scandal, your name's automatically tarnished, whether you did it or not. It doesn't matter because nobody ever fucking knows. Nobody knows.
Nobody follows up with it.
Right.
It hits that news line, and then six months down the road.
Not even that. We weren't even there, Rick. We weren't even there. We weren't there. We don't know. Like during those times, there was like 70s and stuff. People were popping drugs left and right. People were doing all kinds of illegal shit. Dude, when I was in LA, people were popping drugs and there was all kinds of people trying to, you're a dude and people trying to drug you. This is in the 2000s. So it's like, it's like, I'm not desensitizing or saying less of the guy or siding with anybody. I don't know, but I'm saying people will do this in LA. If you work in LA and you've been in the business, people are popping drugs. People are throwing stuff in people's drinks like left and right that run that place. So it's odd that they would only choose one guy for the fall guy. I think there was another guy too that was I forgot his name. He Weinstein.
Yeah, he was the Hollywood dude.
Yeah, another out of thousands and millions of probably other Hollywood dudes that do this type of shit. I mean, because this type of stuff happens in Hollywood. It just does. I mean, it even happens in like police forces and people who are abusing their power. People do this type of shady shit all the time. I mean, I've heard stories where women were saying they were pulled over by, some type of law enforcement and, let go if they gave them head. I mean, there's all kinds of shit.
What was that movie back in the 90s? Crash. Remember that one? Or early 2000s?
Crash. I remember that. I don't remember it, but I remember of it.
I think an Oscar or something. It's a good one. But there's the scene with the police where it's like,
I do remember that
now.
Police
officer basically molest this, African American female, and the guy just stand there and watches because there's nothing he can do because that's the police officer just abusing his power.
Yeah, that is totally crazy. And I do remember that point of the actual film. And that's even a whole nother perspective. But these type of things happen. But my point is like who's wrong and who's right really depends on who was really there. We just try to guess. And if society says you're a victim, we automatically by default go for the claiming victim. And when you start dealing with lawsuits, I mean, I've been a part of lawsuits before. You've been a part of lawsuits possibly before. Nothing that I've tried to put myself.
I hope I'm not either. I don't. I try and stay as out of it as I can.
Well, I'm saying like you ever worked at places before in the past, and then they send you these fucking letters in the mail, and they're like, hey, we're such and such is open up a class action lawsuit, and respond if you have anything to say, or if not, don't respond to anything, and we'll just continue to give you a portion of that class action lawsuit. And the main person who started the class action lawsuit gets the majority. But my point is, if there's an incentive, it's kind of hard to really believe what possibly might have happened. Because if you tell me, hey, look, we're going to be suing, Rick, for some shit in the past, and like one girl said, yeah, Rick did something shady I didn't like. Now, automatically, what's going to happen with Rick is like they're going to that lawyer's going to contact any girl that's ever dated Rick. And any girl who sees that Rick's got millions of dollars, that maybe not be ethical and might be like, hey, fuck Rick, dude. I'm not dating him anymore. I'm married. I got kids. Fuck that, dude. Yeah, I think that motherfucker tried to touch me. Oh, yeah. So
it happens. I get what you're saying, and it definitely does happen. I think the big thing is like, look, like you said, there's sometimes we're never there. You have to trust that the justice system will do its job. And like, you get as much facts as you can out of the situation.
But what is the justice system going to do, though? The justice system is not really caring about so-called justice to an exact extent. The justice cares about what you can prove. And there's laws and there's loopholes. And if at any point, if he gave or anybody or, let's say, for example, you gave somebody any type of, drug where they could not be thinking like themselves. You gave a girl some cocaine, and you didn't do it. I mean, you dropped a little cocaine in her, her marijuana. I mean, dude, you're going down. Whether or not it's a cool thing to do or whatever, did you do it or not? Are you guilty? Boom. You're guilty.
Yeah, hey,
it's that black and white.
Yeah, that's fair. You got. I think at the end of the day, like, look, there's justice by the media, and then there's justice by the justice system. Or
and they're two separate things.
Yeah, they're two separate things. That's kind of where cancel culture comes into play, right? Like, you have times where, again, the media says someone's guilty, and it's like, okay, well, maybe they're not guilty. Maybe they are. We don't know. We're not there. We don't have all the facts. But, you have an agenda. You don't like this person. Okay, that person's guilty. We're canceling that person. So But in the long run, like that's kind of why we made this app, because like we want people to share their opinion. We don't want people to hide behind pseudonyms or hide behind this or not being able to share, because sometimes people might be found guilty in the public, and majority of people don't find them guilty. It's just they don't want to go up against the victim, or they don't want to go up against the higher powers, or whatever it may be, right? So
I don't know. I think society victimizing you is worse than social damnation is worse than the legal system. Because you have to walk around people.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I'd rather be found guilty of something that I did and get fined or get whatever. Like if I did something wrong, okay, like hey, it's wrong. I can acknowledge that. But being found like guilty of cancel culture when I didn't really do something, like that'd be terrible. Imagine you didn't do something and you're canceled by the world and you lose your job and all your friends hate you and
happens all the time.
Family's mad at you. It happens all the time. So we just went down a crazy rabbit hole. Kind of cancel culture. Now we're talking about crazy shit.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I mean, let's just say it here and to clear it up is like, I think for me, the way I look at it is like nobody knows anything unless we were there. We try to make our best assessment as possible. But I think what cancel culture does is really dangerous, because sometimes there could be some hint of gray within these situations, and there could be
my beard, a hint of gray.
There you go. Or there could be some ulterior motives, right? And money is a good fucking motivator. Yeah. If we take money out of it as a non-motivator, then I could sympathize with more people, right? Because then I know like, oh, you're fucking serious. Because who's gonna go through this hell for and it's embarrassing. But there's some people that go and they want money out of it, and so I lose a little bit of credibility once you want cash.
It happens. You see it all the time.
I want a divorce.
Right? Like athletes.
I want half of your money. I want a divorce and I want half of your money. What'd you say about athletes? Sorry about
that. It happens with athletes all the time, right? Athletes and celebrities, like politicians, or they get caught up in something where it's like, look, maybe what they did was wrong. Maybe none of us will know, but they just don't want they don't want the media to just attack them. So they just settle it. Sometimes they end up throwing millions of dollars at it just to make the problem go away. But sometimes it was a problem. Sometimes it wasn't.
But the problem is, Rick, is that a lot of people, once they look up that you took a plea of some sense, will automatically demonize you as saying, see, you're guilty. Yeah. They don't take in the portion of the law that the law is just going to fucking drain you of all your money. You're not going to win anyways, right? They're going to smear your name regardless, and you're going to lose.
People that win lawsuits are lawyers. Lawyers win every time. That's it. Nobody else.
Yeah. But
I guess sometimes people do win. Obviously,
some people do win, but I guess what I'm saying is like
the lawyers always win,
right? But we don't. Society or the social, canceling culture doesn't look at the legal system. They don't understand how the legal system actually works, and they don't put that into any type of decision that, oh wait, he settled, he's illegal, he did something. Michael Jackson, he raped some kids because he settled. No, he didn't want his fucking name to be smeared through the mud, and his lawyer's going to tell him, hey, look, we want this out of the way. Just pay the fucking family off. They want money. Let's do it. It's the way it is. It's the way it is.
And it comes down to like everyone has their opinion, and that's what makes the world a great place, right? Everyone can speak freely and speak their mind, or at least you can try to.
I mean, but does it make it a great place though, Rick? Does it make it a great place, or does it make
people's opinion? Yeah, I think so. Like, when everyone's different. Imagine if we all believed the exact same thing. It'd be kind of boring, and we'd just like, I don't know, it'd just be weird if everyone agreed with everything. Like there wouldn't be any change, there wouldn't be any evolution, there wouldn't be anything. It would just be the people doing the same thing the same time over and over. I think by people having different opinions and people being able to collaborate and work together, that's how people evolve, right? Like just that's what I believe personally. I think just collaboration, opinions, and people being different make the world a little bit of a better place. Sometimes it can make it a worse place. Don't get me wrong, 100% it can. But sometimes it can make it a better place.
Well, I agree. I agree with you, Rick, on that. On that point, I agree with you. But what I'm saying to add on that, to throw some salt on the steak, man, I'm going to do some Salt Bay. I'm going to say that, yeah, man, I agree. We need diversity in opinions. But I'm just saying, like now, I don't know. I was talking about this with another friend the other day because we were just chatting about this literally like 2 days ago. And it's just like, everybody has an opinion, but does it make it too noisy? You've got biblical scriptures of place like the Tower of Babel, where everybody can speak the same language if you go by the Christian Bible, right?
Yep.
But supposedly what happened is, God said, hey, look, they're building this tower to get to the heavens, and I'm going to go down and strike it down. And now everybody's going to speak with a different tongue. And the people who spoke the same tongue went with that group and went their different ways, or whatever it may be, right? That's to sum up the story. But the point of the matter is, maybe there's an actual reason for people to not all have the same fucking opinions and be able to communicate with each other. And now we have places like, social media networks where everybody can talk and everybody can understand each other's language. And it's just like, is it, they have these opinions, but is it too noisy?
Well, again, the self-plug here, that's the best part about Cast 2. It's like, again, there's noise. There's always going to be noise. And on Reddit, Google, Quora, whatever, you've got a million different people's opinions. What we do is we take it and it's just like, boom, here it is. It's either yes or no. Do you agree with this? Do you not agree with that? You get a quick, instant response of what people really think. So by voting anonymously, you can share your honest opinion. And then by getting an instant breakdown of what people think, that yes, people think this way, or no, people don't. You're not filtering through thousands and thousands of comments to see what people think. You're able to get instant, honest answers from the internet. So that's, again, like nice little plug there. But I agree with you. There's times where it's like there's so much noise on the internet, and you're like, okay, well, what? I'm just trying to get something simple. Is it what this person does? People think what this guy did is wrong, or what this woman did, or what this company did, or whatever. Sometimes I just want to know, like, are people really scared of COVID, or is that just the media telling me people are scared of COVID? No, hey, let's ask, let's find out, and let's see what people think. Okay, 80% of people aren't scared of COVID anymore in November of 2021. Okay, perfect. That's what I needed to know.
But maybe, and I think there's some hint of what you're saying is there's a direction that you might be onto something. Because, you've seen on Facebook, you might have got some friends delete you over liking certain things or resharing something. And then there's like this big conversation. There's things like, there's triggers conversations like, Asian hate, Black Lives Matter, white supremacy. What else? So the Trayvon Martin, all these, police brutality. And then also, police, defunding the police, and then the police needing support. So those are really like these triggering conversations that piss people off really easily. Yeah.
So do you remember the Palestine-Israel thing?
Yeah, of course.
Well, it's permanently going, not permanently, but it's been going on forever. It's still going on. I'm uneducated in the matter. I don't know anything about it. I really don't. I have Jewish friends. I have Palestinian friends. I have people that are kind of on both sides, Israeli friends and Palestinian friends, people on both sides of the spectrum.
Likewise.
I'm uneducated. So I didn't post anything when all this stuff happened because I don't know what side I land on. I really do not know. Well, when you don't post something, now it's like, well, you're against the Israelis. It's like, I don't know. Am I? Like, I don't. Well, you're against the Palestinians. I was like, oh, I'm getting attacked from both sides. I didn't even do anything. It's like, whoa, like, bro, relax here. Like, I'm just uneducated. Give me some time to like read about this stuff. And you're reading about it, you still can't figure out who the hell is really right in this situation. And it's like, okay, well, I've got more friends on this side than this side. Do I just go on that side? It's like, I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just going to sit here and I'm not going to say a single thing because I just don't want to piss people off. So it's like, it's so tough because, again, there's times where there's right and there's wrong. And I do believe that. But then there's times where it's not just black and white and easy. There's that gray area we're talking about. It's like, because I'm not on the black side or I'm not on the white side doesn't mean I don't sympathize with both sides. Like, I see it. Well, sometimes, again, you get canceled because you're not on a side. You pick one side, you're canceled by the other. You pick one side, you're canceled by the other side. I was like, oh, guys, like, how can't we just all get along here? Like,
can't we all just get along?
I just try not to get canceled here. Like, I did. Look, I Black Lives Matter. I took the time. I messaged all my friends. Like, I have a lot of like African American Black friends, and I messaged them all when all this stuff happened. I'm like, yo, is this how you feel in Canada? I didn't know racism was a big thing in Canada. Like, I didn't know that. Maybe it's because I grew up in an area where we didn't have people getting shot, police arresting people unjustly, right? And they're like, yeah, Rick, you don't know what it's like. You're white. I was like, okay, fair. So tell me. Let's talk about this. Oh, then you don't post the black square, and everyone's like, well, you're racist. You're white. You don't know what it's like. It's like, oh, guys, you don't know what I did in the background. You don't know that I talked to these friends. You don't know what I was trying to do. I was trying to learn. I was trying to read things, educate, donate, do whatever I can. But because you don't post it on social media, boom, you're guilty. Oh, guys, like,
yeah, it's touchy, man. It's touchy. But you could play. Are you Italian or part Italian?
So I'm half Italian, half Brazilian. So I got European. And
fuck. Well, then you can easily just ride that off and be like, nah, I'm not white if you need to. So it's not that big of a deal. Because then there's this gray of like, what is white in America? You know, there's this like America's whiteness is different from the way whiteness is in Brazil and Latin America and et cetera, or even Middle East. I mean, because Middle East could say, hey, they could be lighter than you and be like, nah, dude, I'm not white. What are you smoking? You know, but then there could somebody say, yeah, I am. It's like, it's subject. You're on a thin line.
Yeah, man, it's tough. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things where you try not to piss people off, and then sometimes by trying not to piss people off,
you still do
pissing them off. It's like,
man,
what, like, okay, what do I do next time? And then again, we're going back to cast. That's why we kind of created it. Again, place where you don't have to get yelled at by people. You share your opinion. Nobody knows what side you picked or what you did, right? If you want to comment and pick a side, yeah, you can. But at least you know, okay, hey, 70% of people think X is wrong. Okay, well, I'm on that side. I know that 70% of people think it's wrong. And they voted anonymously. So it's like they're more likely to give their honest opinion if you're voting anonymously because you have no reason to lie.
I mean, you know, here's the thing, right? I mean, honestly, you can play with people on certain shit. Like, I agree with you. Like, doing something like cast overall takes less effort to think. But, like, really, I mean, you can play with things if you really want to and, you know, play reverse psychology on people and just be like, hey, I'm not actually involved, actually. I mean, because technically you could be like, oh, half of my family's from Brazil. I mean, we've got everything over there. We're probably mixed with so much stuff. So, like, how could you say that about me? You know, like, can you say that if this person's, you know, background and origin is there? It's like even the guy, what was the guy's name? Was it Zimmerman, right? Zimmerman, right? His I think his mother's side was Hispanic, right? And so, you know, that everybody's got mixed ancestry in there. And like his great grandfather was like, it was great grandfather, his grandfather was Afro Latino, right? And so it's like, does he really hate black people when he has like, I don't know, like it's a tricky thing. Then his dad was a Jewish guy. So it's like, I don't know. But, you know, and if he's walking around predominantly around the United States or other places, most people probably wouldn't have pointed at him and says, hey, the white guy right there. They probably would have looked at Zimmerman and said, where? But he was a poster boy for, you know, being white. And it's just like, what, dude? I mean, it's like we're changing up white just because it fits a narrative right now. And it's like, you know, yeah, what is it? I don't know. I went on a tangent of that. And I just think it's like funny how people do that. It's just like, what is wrong? What is right?
Well, sometimes people just find whatever they believe in and it's like fits their narrative and that's what they go with.
Yeah, they forget they forget all reason and just go with the narrative because the narrative sounds hot.
And that's, well, then they follow whatever the media says because the media, you know, they use like kind of fear mongering a lot of times to kind of keep people in check or fear sells. Or
all I'm saying is, Rick, is George Zimmerman, for example, would have never made it in a KKK rally. Sorry.
Never been to one, but I from the movies and what I would imagine, no, I don't think
it was like, hey, what are you doing here? White power? I don't know.
What was that movie?
Dave Chappelle's does some funny skits. I don't know. Well, go ahead.
No, but the Denzel Washington's son played an undercover KKK member.
No, that's hilarious. I haven't seen it yet.
It's a good movie. I think it got nominated or won some awards.
There was a couple of, like, I think it was like Black Klansman or something like that. Was that Denzel Washington's son?
Yeah,
that's his son.
Something Washington. Yeah,
he's his son.
The guy from.
Are you sure that's his son?
I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yeah, look. I didn't know it was his son. Is his son? I mean, not that it matters, but I didn't know he had a son that was that old that was an actor. Shoot, wow. Let's look it up.
John David Washington. That's his name.
Yeah,
he's in a bunch of things.
I've seen him before, but I didn't know he was related to Denzel. Are we sure he's related to Denzel Washington? That'd be pretty cool, though.
He's in Ballers. He was in Black Klansman. Yeah,
I saw that one, of course. Yeah.
Monsters and Men.
Mm-hmm.
The Old Man and the Gun. Tenet. Remember that one? The Christopher Nolan one? That
was
a good one. Won a bunch of awards, too. Nothing recently, though. He's going to star in a new movie called True Love.
Ah, look at him.
Never heard that
True
one.
Love.
Yeah, that's Denzel Washington's son.
Is it really?
Great actor.
I never knew that was Denzel Washington's son. You learn something every freaking day.
To me a couple of years ago. Yeah, when you think about it.
Looks nothing like Denzel Washington.
No, I can see it.
You think so?
You put pictures side by side. This is where you got to like superimpose on the YouTube video, like a picture of them side by side.
I don't know.
Put that up on cast after.
I got to really dig in that
Denzel Washington and his son look alike. I'll put that on cast.
I'm gonna relook that up, but yeah, that's it. Yeah, let's do that.
I'm gonna put that on cast just for you. And
put it on cast. Let's go.
People can vote. We'll see what
but sometimes
I can see it.
But is it a psychological? I mean, but you also have to understand too. There's a psychological, visual representation of what some people might believe looking like. Like I've realized growing up, people have a different version of what lookalike is. Like for example, if somebody grows a beard and they have a similar complexion of you, and they put in some Apple AirPods in their ear and the same sweater, then people are like, "Does he look like Rick?" Yeah, looks just like Rick. Man, he has a beard and he has AirPods.
I get told, I'm like, "You look like someone I know." I was like, it's weird as is. I get it so much. I'm like, "Hey man, I'm a generic looking Italian dude. I have a beard, I have a deep sized nose, big features, brown hair, like brown eyes." Okay, man. I was basically half the Italians I know. I grew up in a neighborhood with a lot of Italians. Like, hey man, we all kind of look alike, I guess. Like,
I mean, yeah.
Where'd you structure?
And we're in Ontario. Where was it? Wait, hold on.
Yeah, I grew up in Toronto.
Toronto,
Canada.
Right.
Drake City,
that's right. Drake City. What am I smoking? But yeah, so Toronto. Yeah, so you grew up in Toronto, and so people are like, "Oh, you look like any other Italian guy."
Yeah, I used to get it all the time. Like, "Oh, you look like so and so." And then, funny enough, I have a lot of friends that or guys I know that kind of look like me.
I mean, but you could be. I mean, you could be. I mean, look. I mean, let's just be real. Like, there's like this. Like, you could be Middle Eastern. You can be from any place in Latin America, right? You can be from anywhere in southern Italy. You can be from anywhere from Spain. It's not. Yeah, you're in a great space.
I can
Mediterranean area
stereotypes. Oh yeah, easy.
If you start speaking any Arabic language, dude, nobody would be like, "Well, what are you doing, dude?"
Yeah. You watch hockey?
No. No, I haven't. Being from New England, you would expect I do, but no.
There was a hockey.
The Mighty Ducks. I saw that movie.
Kadri. Nazem Kadri. He used to play for the Leafs in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
People would say I look like him all the time, and he kind of Middle Eastern looking. And then there's I've super.
What's the guy?
Like, oh, you kind of look like that guy.
So you're the kind of look like that guy.
Yeah, I'm the kind of look like that guy.
There's a couple.
Sure.
You could be Rodrigo. You can be Botafuku. You could be whatever, right? Grecchio. You could be Hepe. You could be Ricky Martin.
Man, if I was an actor, I could play so many different roles.
That's true.
Maybe that's my next thing. Maybe I'm terrible.
Yeah, if you went to Turkey, dude, nobody would ever fucking point you out and be like the Italian dude over there or the Brazilian dude. They were like, huh? Where? I don't see.
Yeah, that belongs here.
Where? Him? But no, it's just funny. Like, there is a hint of gray too. Again, like I said, even when it comes to the whole, culture thing. And that's my whole point that I was bringing up way earlier, is that even these colonialistic definitions of quote unquote race is so variant. And that is a guaranteed testament to what I'm actually even saying, is because so many different admixtures, different places, you have these variants of looks that you can kind of just like say, this area has certain people that look like this. This area has certain people that looks like this, but it's not dedicated to one exact area anymore because of so much mixing that's going on. Like, you have different variations of that, unless you're talking about, places like in, Japan and places like in China, where there's like an overall generic type of look because everybody kind of, exists as the same and been interacting with the same type of people for thousands of years. Unlike places like the Middle East, unlike places like Southern Italy, unlike places in Latin America in general, where they've just been switching around for thousands of years. So you just don't know. You get a range of different variations.
Well, in Toronto, we are probably one of the most multicultural cities in the world. You have people from all different parts of the world that come here, live here. Like my elementary school, there was, people from literally all over the world. You got Filipino kids, you got Japanese kids, Chinese kids, Italian kids, Portuguese kids, African. You have literally everything at my elementary school. Just random elementary school in Toronto, Canada.
But wait to 100 years from now, and then everybody in that Toronto area will just be like a blend of everything, and it'll be just like what I'm saying right now. Is like, it's like, at what point does it make it hard to codify or identify?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
How do you say, what race are you? What nationality are you? It's like, well, my mom's dad was Italian and my mom's mom was Croatian, but I was born in Brazil and my son is born in Canada. So technically, I'm a Brazilian, Canadian, Italian, Croatian.
Right. And then you have to go, and then you also have to think about what your parents may tell you that they want to tell you and what they might know, because then you go back and you dig. Every grandparent and everybody else always lied about something or about one person that wasn't in the family based on social society, what was popular at the time and what was trendy, or certain people they dismissed. I mean, there's tons of people. I mean, like Bob Marley, for example. Bob Marley typically gets token as a Jamaican. But his father is European from fucking England. That's why his last name is Bob Marley. The Marley family is a really rich family that were all white in Jamaica, who he slept with a Jamaican woman and, you know, had kids with her. But they're a famous family in Jamaica who owned a lot of property. But they came from England and they owned
Just
stuff
like
there.
that, right? Yeah.
So technically, what the hell was Bob Marley? He was a mix. So it's like, you know, and even he got picked on when he was growing up, which is funny, is that people don't really understand that. But in Jamaica, Bob Marley was actually picked on for being half white in Jamaica.
I had no idea.
See that? See that?
Learn something new every day.
There you go.
Learn something new every day.
But see, that has to do a lot about what we identify as what
right.
is what we identify as what is what. Because that identification may be off what we see or what we call that, but that may be a mixture of that based on where we live. But we call it this.
Yeah, it's also the idea of genders, right? Like 20 years ago, there was 2 genders, 3 genders. Now there's a whole bunch because people can identify as whatever like they really want to, and you know. I think it's a little bit. Right? I think it's a little bit more authentic. And I don't know. Do I say that? I don't know. I think it's a little bit different from gender. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we're talking about people can identify as whatever they want. And then what I'm saying is genetically, what the fuck is a Bob Marley? You know what I'm saying? Genetically, his family comes from England and his mother comes from Jamaica, which most likely originally probably came from African descent, from Africa, right? So genetically, he wouldn't be identifying as nothing else different from what he really would be. But it's what our society tells us now is to identify what you look like the closest. Yeah. Mind you, but
that's not real, though.
If you ask me, like, technically I'm Canadian, right? Like, I was born in Canada, like, whatever. But when people ask, like, oh, what are you? I'm like, oh, I'm Italian Brazilian, right? My dad's Italian, my mom's Brazilian. That's what I am.
But see, even those, right? But even those, when we start talking about Italian and Brazilian and Canadian, these are all nationalities, right? They're not about race, right? Because in Brazil, how many races are you to make a Brazilian? You could be as many as mixtures as you want to be.
Yeah.
The same with Italy, Southern Italy. Like if you're talking about Southern Italians, not the Northern ones who have more Germanic tribe ancestries. We're talking about Southern Italy, like Sicily and stuff like that. They were mixed with Moors. They were mixed with different Arabic tribes and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, even when you go like towards the southern part of Spain, there's a lot of Arabs that are there, which a lot of people don't know that speak Spanish fluently. So there's been a lot of intermingling for thousands of years. Spain was actually conquered.
What's your background?
Oh man, I'm just a pain of all those. I mean, just go figure it out. My first name is Tavares, so you figure that out yourself.
I would say Spanish, Mexican. That's what I would have said. Yeah.
There you go. So you got to go ahead and find the little salt shaker and mix it up with that paprika.
That's it. I love it.
There you go. But no, I mean, I'm just saying, like, we, my point is just like we have this hardcore point of identification, and I feel like society is like this thing where we feel like we have to identify, and it's like having to identify. I just think it's gonna fade away because as society just continues to keep on mingling, it's just gonna be harder to do that. And people right now, they're trying to hang on to these identifications. No, I'm like this, and no, I'm not this. No, I'm this, and it's just like, what the fuck is that going to eventually mean in 100 years when your mother's is 25% from Italy and your dad's from 25% Native American, and then the other part is from Africa? What the fuck are you going to do?
What's even really matter, man? Like,
it doesn't matter.
We're all people. That's what I mean. It's like there's so many times where people are classified into these things. It's like, but who cares? You know why it's cared for? I'll tell you why. It's cared for because we're raised, right, to think of these things. We're raised to identify with these things. We're taught this. And this has been kind of roughly within the past 500 years of where we've been taught that this is this and this is that. So we have this labeling thing. We feel like almost like AI computers where we're trying to label things
based off of what it looks like to us, when actually we're all just Homo sapiens. We're all just fucking humans, 100%. All this, we all bleed red. We all this. Of course we all fucking do. But it's just like, what is the identifier, the common identifier that we can easily tell from a mile away or from 10 feet away or 5 feet away? It's color and some features, so some phenotypes. So somebody says 400, 500 years ago, okay, what is this person? Where are they from? Okay, let's just do this thing. Instead of judging by their religion, we're just going to do it by their complexion, hair texture, and some features.
Facial features.
So if this nose is like this, they're from this place. And if they have eyes like this, they're from this place. And this is how we can control shit. And so we just teach this to kids over and over again. And then here we have it. This is colonialism in general, is you just regurgitate that shit in high school and in middle school and stuff and just tell the kids this. And so kids grow up in this system and they just start believing it. And your parents already were taught that. So it just keeps on going. But if you were at a point 400, 500 years ago, this shit really didn't exist.
Oh my gosh, little technical difficulties.
I'm a techie, so I can swing you a little bit. I'm a techie, so I can swing you a little bit. But yeah, that's wild. Yeah, that's crazy. We had dropped off, guys. Sorry about that. But yeah, we had some technical difficulties. We've made it. We've got the phone. It actually looks amazing, actually, right here.
I should have been on this the whole time.
It looks better than the actual laptop.
Should have been on my phone the whole time.
Yeah, what are we doing now? I know what to recommend besides the actual computer. This is way better. Yeah. Wow, we were talking about a bunch of crazy stuff, but we got a crazy rabbit hole there. Hell yeah, we definitely went on a tangent, but let's talk about some other stuff that I'd like to dig into. You talked about, or I think I read that you worked at Sony for a while. And then,
so I did, yeah, I was in the marketing department there for a little bit. It was, I was young. I was maybe 22, and it started because I met a friend of mine that I did a concert with a random DJ. So I ended up working there for a little bit. It was just for a summer gig, and it was fun. I was in the marketing department. So again, working in music is always something that I love doing. I do events, so music events, they go hand in hand, and I did that for about 6 months maybe when I was younger, and then I just moved on. It wasn't a place that I wanted to be permanently, but nonetheless, it was a lot of fun either way.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then what did you do after that?
So after that, then I started doing events full time. I wasn't when I was younger, I didn't think events could be a real job. And then you start throwing events, and you start throwing more and more of them, and then you're like, wait a second, I'm making more money than my brother that was an engineer at the time. I was like, okay. So I'm just going to throw these events and these parties, and, college students loved them. And I did these, DJ events and rappers and celebrities this, and it was cool and it was fun. But then again, then you get older and you're like, hey, I can't do this. I don't want to be out every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, just from 10 till 2 or whatever times you work. You don't want to be in nightclubs and concert venues all the time. But some people do. And, kudos to them. It wasn't for me, to say the least.
Yeah.
I still love going out though. Still love a good night out.
Yeah. Do you know, there was Scooter Braun? I think he started out like that with a lot of them the parties. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how they meet these young musicians and producers and whatever else they are. Like one of my, a buddy of mine that I did some work with back in the day, he's the manager for Murder Beats, who does a whole bunch of beats for Migos, Drake, a whole bunch of people. Wow. Yeah.
That's crazy. Small world.
Yeah, it is definitely a small world these days. But
yeah, I mean,
what about you? What do you do besides the podcast?
Oh my God, what do I do besides the podcast? Wow. Yeah, man. I mean, besides running my fucking mouth, yeah. I mean, I've done stuff in the entertainment industry before. I had a startup for 4 years where we were reimagining the entertainment industry, and did a lot of partnerships with MTV and all kinds of shit. So it was really fun. Numerous of celebrities. This was when I was in LA. And, then fast forward from there, I decided to, get more hardcore techie, and I moved to Silicon Valley and work with a bunch of cool tech companies. And, some of them might be Facebook, LinkedIn, somewhat Lyft, and, just building and structuring things for them, and, making their dreams come true a little bit with my little bit of, opinion. Right. But yeah,
Love it.
strategically, yeah, just building shit, man. Building shit, helping startups and helping, big Fortune 500 companies, scale their products and, add my layer of design on it. So typically, some might say as a senior product designer is what I typically might be called. But I've done it all with branding. I've done it all with, product management. I've done it all. So, yeah.
Love it, man. I love it.
Dig it. Yeah. That's a little bit of my journey.
Hey, do you know what, man? Not all the times people don't ask. Like, I hosted the podcast too. Like, nobody really asks, like, hey, what do you do? Like, tell us about you. It's like, no, we always just ask the guest questions. And sometimes you don't feel the love back. So I want to make sure you feel the love back.
Well, thank you. I mean, there is one thing that we do, I would say that my grandpa, he actually was signed on the same label with Drake's uncle, who was a famous musician during the 70s, because that was the style of music that was going on in the 70s. It was all about funk and funk rock, another one, Bites the Dust, all that shit like that. So, so, pretty much I think, we're just love childs of those rock and roll people.
I agree.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Yeah. Man, Drake's basically God in Toronto. Everyone loves him, and he's an amazing thing. So I get it.
He put it on the map, though. I mean, like nobody knows anybody really. When you think about Toronto, you don't think about anything but Drake, and that's just primarily what it is.
I think when you meet people from outside of like Canada, and they're like, "Oh, you're from Toronto. Do you know Drake?" Or like, it's like, and anyone from Toronto will tell you that they know somebody who knows somebody that knows Drake.
Right.
Say, oh yeah, like I'm like buddies with like his like hairstylist, or like I'm buddies with his chauffeur, or whatever. Or my girlfriend like does his makeup or something. Whatever. I don't know.
Is that probably true or shit?
Oh, what I say. It's like somebody knows somebody that is boys with Drake or girls with Drake.
7 Degrees from Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. Kevin. Yeah, Keanu Reeves, man. Keanu Reeves is another big Canadian.
Is he?
Yeah, okay, man. Everyone knows him. One of the most well-loved Canadians, I think.
I didn't know he was from Canada. I thought he was like Hawaiian and like.
This is gonna be awkward if he's not. I'm gonna Google this right now.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
So if he's not, this is gonna be.
Keanu, we're looking you up, boy. We're looking you up.
I'm almost positive he is, but he's a Canadian actor. Sweat.
But I thought his dad was like from Hawaii or something.
Maybe, but then again, it goes to that conversation we just had. It's like, what is it? What technically is he, right?
Right. I mean, I just thought like he grew up somewhere in Hawaii or Samoa or something like that, like with his dad's family, and I guess maybe they moved to Canada. I don't know the whole background, but I think like his father's like from that background, from what I understand.
You never know. It's just like Canadian actor. That's
like his name is Keanu, I'm like Keanu.
Keanu, yeah.
That's
like CANU.
Yeah, it's like it's like a K KENU, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Keanu. Yeah, let's just look at. We're gonna look up Keanu Reeves. Where's Keanu from? Keanu. Let's just do one. Keanu Reeves from. We're gonna see that he is. All right, Keanu Charles Reeves is a Canadian actor born in Beirut and raised in Toronto. Reeves began acting on his production television and Young Bloods. But who is his father? That's what we.
Well, it says he's British, American, and Canadian. That's his nationality.
But Keanu Reeves was born September the 2nd, 1964, in Beirut, Lebanon, of Chinese Hawaiian heritage.
Wow.
Of his father's side. Yeah.
He's Lebanese?
Yeah.
American,
That's
Hawaiian.
even wilder too, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, he was fucking born in Lebanon and of Chinese Hawaiian heritage on his father's side, and his name translates to cool breeze over the mountains. Cool.
Isn't there a cartoon named Keanu?
I don't.
There used to be a Caillou. Remember that one back in the day?
No, I don't remember that one. I think I only watched other like random ass. What was it? The Looney Tunes and stuff like that. Those are the silly cartoons.
Yeah. The Roadrunner,
shit like that. Yeah.
Nickelodeon
shows. Those are my kind of go-tos.
But, I got you.
But yeah, man. So another thing I think you were talking about earlier. You were talking about the podcast. I think we were talking about that when we first got on here and about how heavy it is. And walk me through your journey with the podcast, because you did have a podcast. You guys are doing one. You were telling me about that. Yeah.
So we started literally a year in beginning of 2020. We said, you know what? Me and my boy, we're like best friends. We're like, hey, we're getting older. It's harder to stay in touch. It's harder to see each other and chat. So why don't we let's do something like New Year's resolution. Let's do something where we gotta like do something together once a week, or we gotta do something fun, or try something new. So I'm not a YouTuber by any means. I didn't really care for that. We played some sports there, but like, why don't we start a podcast? We'll sit down, and the goal is to sit down once a week for an hour a week, shoot the shit, and maybe we bring on some friends and just chat about their lives and kind of talk about transitioning out of our 20s into our 30s and some of the cool stuff we've done. I was focusing on kind of lifestyle, travel, sports, music, entertainment. Those are the ideas. So we started it in my buddy's condo, and he had a little office den space. So we said once a week. Well, we did our first episode, we did our second, we did our third. Then one of our buddies came on. So we had one with him. Really cool. We had a lot of fun. We do our fourth one, fifth one. And then I was like, hey, let's get some cool people on. Maybe we get some like Olympians or whatever. So I DM'd about, 20 gold medalists, Canadian gold medalists. The next day, one of them responds. Like, yeah, sure, I'm down. Let's do it. Oh, shit. I love Olympians. I think Olympians are some of the coolest people in the world. But we got to sit down, fifth episode or sixth episode, we had an Olympian. Then we had a professional soccer player a week after that. Couple, and then NHL players and musicians. It kind of just started going. We got some sponsors, and we were doing 2 episodes a week. And then we eventually got a studio, and it's called the Pals Podcast because we're 2 pals that just wanted to hang out and chat. So we did that, and we did it for a year and a half. We did 135 episodes. I think we were at like 250,000 downloads too, which like doesn't seem like a lot, but for like normal people, that was a lot for us. We were really happy with that. And yeah, now we put a little bit on hold just because we were doing a massive road trip for the app. So we just didn't have the time to do it. So now we're starting back up again in November. I want to say 21st or something. November 22nd, I think. We're starting to back up, or December. I can't remember. But we're starting back up again, and it'll be fun. Just sit down and have fun conversations. You get to meet so many cool people and do different things, right? When would I ever sit down with, Olympians or NHL players or this and that? Do you remember Donovan Bailey, fastest man alive?
Yeah.
So we had him sit down with us. That was really cool. Just cool stories, situations that we wouldn't have had the opportunities to do. And we got to sit down and hear these stories from these Canadian legends, most of them. So pretty cool thing. And again, having a podcast is fun. You get to sit down. Normally I don't have technical difficulties like this. So it's a little awkward considering I have my own podcast. I should be a little bit more prepared, but
what's going on, Rick?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm losing. It's my third podcast.
But you said you weren't. You said you weren't the technical side, so that makes sense, right? We had that conversation.
It's still not hard, right? I should still be able to set up a computer, right? This is kind of embarrassing, but it's okay.
Well, it wasn't the computer setting up. It's like your computer was not like the permissions weren't operable in your other computer, and you didn't actually know why. You didn't know what was actually running. That's where you need the technical operator to actually dig in there. I just have it in the background here. Maybe I just need to reset this one. I gotta hope that one works over there. I left it in the other room because I kind of panicked once it just shut down. I was like, what do I do? I'm gonna run to plan B. You go to the other laptop. I gotta figure out. Once this is done, I'm gonna kind of go plug it in and go make sure to press every button. What happened here? Yeah. Go to the Apple store and be like, guys, what the frick? Yeah. But no, so you guys had a podcast. I mean, you still have it, but you guys took a little break.
Yeah.
And
we still got it.
Was it audio? Was it just audio or was it video? What was it?
No, we did audio and video. We had a cozy little spot, so we did audio and video. And my buddy George, shout out to George.
Shout out to George.
He took care of all big shout out to George. He took care of all the editing, which was good. And then we eventually brought in a manager. So our manager, Danielle, shout out to Danielle too. She'll probably listen to this.
All right.
And so she kind of manages and helps us out now. Because again, when you're doing a million different things, it's so tough to make sure that you have good guests and you have good content being pumped out and you're promoting on social media and you're constantly filling the calendar with more guests and this and that. So it gets tough, right? Making sure you post on the same day at the same time every week. So, your listeners are well aware. And we used to do giveaways and merch, and it's a lot to handle, especially when you got 2 normal jobs and then your hobby is that 3rd job. So
yeah, podcasting is a lot, man. I mean, like a lot of people really don't understand what goes into podcasting. And right now, I run this baby. Oh, wow. Did we lose you for a second?
No, I'm back. Okay, my phone's at 20% though.
You had to plug it in.
Technical difficulties here. Tough one.
Yeah. So what I was kind of saying is like, a lot of people don't understand that podcasting is actually, it's really harder than what people think. You have to literally, you have to plan for it strategically. It takes money to put into it. You have to get guests. So there's booking. You have to have somebody who handles the audio, right? And the engineering part of the actual broadcasting. Yeah. Like right now, when your computer fucking went out, somebody has to have a backup computer or system to be able to turn shit back on. You can't have downtime, right? So you need somebody who's consistently doing that. Then you need to make sure you have double copies, and that's where your audio engineer guy still will be doing that. And then you need somebody who understands, like, the whole marketing perspective of it, right? And now, and even when you understand the marketing, we already talked about the booking, and then we have to, the marketing is kind of like the social media marketing, but then you also might need to think about advertisement. And then you also need a camera manager, somebody who understands the camera, cinematographer of the camera, and how to manage that, and how to do color correcting if needed, or if you're just going to shoot straight out of the camera. Shooting straight out of the camera might look like dog shit, literally, if you you don't know how to use it. Or if you know how to set up a camera really good, you can use it straight out of the camera if you really are great at that. But you might want to shoot in log, and then you need a person who understands color correction, which is somebody who understands, a little bit of color correction in general. But you need that.
Yeah. It's not easy. It's not easy for the people that think, oh, I'm just going to start a podcast. Like, yeah, again, I love it. Start one. But just remember, if you actually want it to be good and you want people to listen to it, it's not as easy as you think. And we were fairly fortunate with ours to get some super cool guests on and have some good conversations. And the best part about ours is it was a conversation. It wasn't an interview. It's not like, okay, we've got, Donovan Bailey coming on. Here are the 20 questions that we're going to ask. You can send it to their PR person. Half our PR people would email us, okay, what are the questions? Like, we don't have them. We just go with the flow. We're going to ask it. We're going to talk about X, Y, and Z. And then everything in between, we're just going to go kind of like this one too, right? Like, you have points you want to touch upon, but hey, if we go on a tangent, we start talking about cancel culture or race and whatever. Like, hey, we'll go with the flow.
Right. Or dog food.
Whatever it is. Whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's always about like a fun conversation that, that can inspire others, and make people, make them more open and to learn, right? And to motivate them. So this is kind of what I like to do out of these podcasts. And I think, like, if you make it so scripted, then you really don't get that genuine conversation, right? Or interview, if you will, right? But for me, totally, the way that I organized it was by the branding of the name, which was the kids in the room. And I've had some weird people come at me with some weird ass explanations. Like, so I thought this was like for kids. I'm like, are you weird? Like, what do you mean? Like kids? Like, no, come on, bro. Have a little bit of creativity in your heart, baby.
That's the same with ours. Yeah. Ours was the Pals podcast. Picture you're driving to like a cottage or driving to like the lake and you're with the pals in the car. You just can't talk. That's how we describe it to our listeners. You're with me and my pal and whoever's on the episode's in the back seat. And you're in the fourth spot. You just can't say a word.
Sick. I dig it. Well, mine specifically was, is basically the kids in the room, meaning having those same conversations that we did like when we were kids, where it was just really vulnerable. You said whatever the fuck you wanted to say, and you might have walked out of that room and just learned something that day. You might have talked about your girlfriend who broke up with you. You might have talked about something that's happening in your family. Maybe there was something about abuse. Maybe there was something weird that was going on. And it was just like a really open place. We might have been playing fucking video games at the time, or just talking or playing guitar, whatever it may be. We were doing that. And it's just like,
nobody
said
judged
we wanted.
You either when you were kids. Yeah. No one judged you.
Exactly.
People just said what they wanted to say. Right. And that, man, when I started the podcast, I was like, this is great. I got to come on this one. Like, it's right up our alley, right? Like, again, with the app, sharing opinions, like not being afraid to say what you want and voice your opinions and your thoughts. So I saw it. I was like, ooh, this is a good one. I gotta message my buddy, my new pal now.
There you go. Now, how did you guys are talking about the podcast and moving forward, and then you also have Cast. How are you going to balance those both? And you may have a full-time, are you full-time right now at Cast, or is it like still?
Yeah. So Cast is basically full-time now. The podcast is more of, again, a hobby. It's turned into a nice little business that we had in the summertime that we just, we had some really cool sponsors that wanted to jump on board because we did well in Toronto and we were pretty successful here. So we had some sponsors that jumped on board that made it a lot of fun. But it's mostly about Cast now. They kind of go hand in hand just because a lot of the stuff we talk about on the podcast relates to Cast. And a lot of times, like, we jump in and we've got, you see good questions and conversation starters on Cast that we end up using in the podcast. So whatever a trending topic was or question on the app, we'll end up using it in the podcast. It's a good conversation starter. Anytime you see an interesting one, and now we started sending out email marketing, like we do an email blast once a week, like the top 5 casts of the week. And we're like, hey, you send them out Friday at like 6:00, right before you're going to dinner, right before you're getting ready for your date. Hey, here's 5 conversation starters you can use. Here's the questions. If you want to know the answers or what people think, click it. If not, have a conversation with your partner or your buddies at the dinner table while you're drinking a beer or having a glass of wine, and that's it. healthy discourse. Man. That's like my whole life's about. I just love chatting with people. I love meeting new people, discussing ideas, sharing opinions, and just that's me. That's who I am.
Yeah, I mean, and that's great. But you know, what's interesting about you guys is when you had your podcast, Rick, you guys talked about. I mean, because it sounds like you guys were moving pretty rapidly. Like you guys, started out renting a space. And then you got another space. Like, how'd you work out that? You started out podcasting a space originally.
We used to do it in George's den, right? And it was a nice spot. It was a great spot. But the problem was, then we do it we went from his like den area to like the kind of living room couch area, and it was kind of a cool little spot. Really nice. Had this like cognac couch. The problem is, it's still a home, right? So like we'd invite female guests, and they're essentially going to someone's home. So we're like, let's get a spot. Let's get our own space. And we couldn't afford it at the time. And then we started the app, and they're like, okay, well, we can use the app and the podcast. So we do them together. We're best friends. So we have kind of one half of our studio set up for the app, and we have like our computers and our team can work there. And then the other half, we have this like nice mural decorated. I'll send you some pictures later. By this actual Toronto artist. He came in, I called him. I was like, yo, why don't you come set up our studio, do some nice little mural, and then we'll have you on the podcast. So big shout out to my buddy, Anthony Ricciardi. He's a new buddy of mine since he set up our studio.
Shout out to Anthony.
He's got these nice drooping hearts, nice colorful stuff. So he came in there, set up our studio, and we did it. And honestly, the podcast has been great. The only reason we shut it down is because I was mentioning to you earlier, we started on a road trip throughout the States promoting the app. So we were on the road for 50 days. And we went from basically Toronto all the way to Boston, down to Florida, and then from Florida to Texas, and then Texas back to Toronto. So in total, it's, I don't know, 10,000 miles, 8,000 miles, whatever it is. It's a hell of a lot of miles. I know that. And we slept on this RV. We lived on a 36-foot RV for 50 days, eating like ramen noodles and microwave dinners.
Sounds like college again.
I felt like I was in college at the time. The problem is I'm a little bit too old where my knees and my back hurt if I didn't get a decent sleep. I can't do what I was doing in college anymore. Yeah, it was tough.
I mean, I believe you, man. Totally. I've totally done. I did an app where we went on some college campuses and redid that kind of shit. So it was definitely awesome.
Yeah, you get it, man. You get it. It's what you got to do. You got to get the young people involved, and our app is a lot of it's tailored towards younger people because they're the ones that love voting. And you can also use it for student research instead of using like SurveyMonkey or Google Forms. You can use Cast because you don't have to send it out to your friends. You post the questions, people vote on it. You have your information, and you can go and do your assignments. So we went there. We handed out bucket hats, Viper glasses, visors, a whole bunch of stuff, and students loved it. So now it's like we're back home and just kind of still growing day by day. But that little we called it Operation Charlie Tango, Operation Cast Takeover, and it took a couple years off my life. Definitely, I don't normally eat microwave dinners and ramen, so eating that, I didn't have as many gray hairs before when I left this for this little trip too. So. I mean, it was an amazing experience.
I mean, I remember like when we were doing it, I was working a startup and we started up this one other startup, which was called Splash Campus. And we went to different college campuses and stuff like that. And there was numerous of issues that we found, and there was some flashy apps at the time, like called, what was it? Yik Yak. There was Yik Yak. Yeah. And then there was Yeti Campus Stories. And so those were the big competitors at the time. And, the whole thing was the swag. I actually, I hung out with not Brooks, the other co-founder in San Francisco. We met outside and we were talking. And I basically told him, I was like, yeah, this is going to be some of the problems you're going to run into, which I don't see how you're going to scale past this. And I mentioned it to him really fast. And I told him, I said, that's the only problem what I see for your company failing. And within 6 months, the company was gone.
Are you talking about Yik Yak?
Yeah.
So it's funny enough because, again, Yik Yak is not a direct competitor of ours, but it's a kind of competitor because, again, they're based off social, like a fully anonymous platform where you can say anything you want. And you obviously know what happened with Yik Yak and how they got shut down because of cyberbullying and everything. But when we started, I think we were on day 30, we found out that Yik Yak actually came back and they were going to some of the same schools that we were actually going to. So it's funny you mentioned that. So
but a new co-founder though, it's not the same original founders anymore. They sold it off. Well, I think like Twitter.
Yeah, I think
Twitter.
Jack Dorsey bought it.
Yeah,
I think Jack Dorsey bought it. Yeah, from Twitter. So it's funny. We share a lot of similarities with Yik Yak. the idea is that we don't want to be a place like Yik Yak, because Yik Yak can be a very dark place for young people sometimes. Again, like the cyberbullying and stuff that happened back in 15 or 16, whenever it was. It's dangerous, right? Like you don't want to create the wild, wild west, especially for kids. So,
I mean, there were some issues that we identified of where Yik Yak's failure was going to be. I can't remember all of them that I mentioned to him because I'm not in it as much as I was, but I remember, and I learned this from actually just being on campus and doing tons of products. And one of them was like the whole anonymity issue, right? Because at a certain point, and I actually try the product, I try to be non-biased of the product and experience it and realize what are the negatives and the pros and cons, and what are something like what frustrations do I have when I'm dealing with this app? And one of them was just like, you couldn't meet people, right? It was hard to meet people. And if you did meet somebody, it was like, well, I'm not going to meet somebody from this freaking app. It's like, it's sketchy. You don't know if that's a real person. It's anonymous. It could be some weirdo. It could be a cop on the other side. It could be some weirdo, some raper. Who knows? Like, so it was like, that was a big issue. So there's no social component because I can't really keep the people around, right? I can't add a friend. So I felt like it was kind of empty when I got into those portions. And, there were some other things too. There wasn't like context of video and things like that. Cause there was another app called Yeti Campus Stories, which was doing, do you remember that? I don't know if you remember that, but it was doing something.
I read about it. I don't remember it back in the day, but I've read about it.
It was doing what Yik Yak was doing, but for a video. So think Snapchat meets Yik Yak.
Yeah.
Which was cool, but the problem was, and it blew up towards the Southeast, but the problem was, again, you couldn't actually interact with people. So it was just like, and it was only for college students, but there wasn't a way to verify if they were college students. So you didn't know if like this old dude was just sitting there.
You don't know if you're talking to some 6-year-old man and like, some creep. Well, that's what we took a lot of the problems that Yik Yak had, and we identified them. Again, like you said, the perfect one is it's fully anonymous. So you don't know who people are. Well, with Cast, you create an authentic profile. You have a profile where people can see the questions you've asked. They'll never know how you voted or if you even voted, but you can see the questions that you've asked, and you can also message people. So we have in-app chat. You can also ask private questions with your buddies. Let's say you and your 5 buddies want to go out to dinner, and you want to say, hey boys, quickly, the chancellors, where are we going for dinner Friday night? Best spot to go to meet people or go for dinner, best food. You can ask that question. The boys will answer it, and only they will see it, or whoever you want to see it. But the problem with Yik Yak, it was fully anonymous. It's like, one, it can promote hate, but you can't connect with people. That's a bigger problem, because if you're a social network and you can't connect with people, it's not really a social network anymore. So that's what we did. We identified that. So we have on Cast, you can connect with people, you can follow your friends, you can message them in app, you can comment on things. The questions in the comments have your name attached to them. So again, it's not fully anonymous, but we took the best part about Yik Yak, which was the kind of sharing your opinion anonymously, in the sense that we utilize anonymous voting.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I think that's cool that you have that.
I think you'd like it, man. I think you're going to like it.
I'm going to check it out for sure. But one thing that I did adore about Yik Yak's strategy, and the same thing about Whitney Wolf, from, what was it? Originally from Tinder, then she bounced over to Bumble, was their execution. Yep. Their execution of marketing, their execution of growth were amazing. Whitney Wolf, I would say, probably one of the best growth hackers. Her execution was just seamless, and she did it twice. So it wasn't something that was just random.
Wasn't lucky.
No.
Yeah.
She built a systematic structure where she can do this with anything again and again, because she did it at Tinder, and then she flipped it and did it at, Bumble.
Bumble. Yep.
That's fucking amazing.
I think it's like, and then there's other apps that are just copying exactly what they did, because again, if you can do it, someone did it. Yeah. I might not do it the best that they did because they had, their special person, but the idea of like blitz scaling, you read that book?
Yeah. I heard of it. Yeah.
Amazing book. Yeah. Great book. And it's just, you talk about the things that you need to do and the timing and all these kind of these right pieces that you need to follow to grow. Because if it was easy, everybody would do it, and there'd be a gazillion companies that are worth billions of dollars. But it's not easy, and it's I can't remember who said it, but one of the good parts. It's not in Blitzscaling. It's in a different book. But it's like, do things that don't scale, especially at the beginning.
Paul Graham.
Who was it? Sorry,
Paul Graham from YC.
Yes. And I've listened to so many of his like excerpts and stuff.
It's a cool guy.
Yeah, you have to do things that don't. Yeah, super cool. But you have to do things that don't scale, because at the beginning, if you're not willing to do it and you're not able to do it, or if you're not going to do it, and it's like, who do you expect is going to do it for your startup? You don't have much money. That's why we're eating 99-cent noodles and doing all the experiential marketing ourselves because we didn't have money to pay people. We try and make sure that every dollar that we spent on our startup is, going towards the proper thing, either the product or the people or the growth. Those are like the kind of the things you need to spend your money on. And that's what we tried to do. And I think, again, we've got a long ways to go. We're not at that hockey stick moment yet where we're kind of fully up and to the right and we got hundreds of thousands of dollars, but we're at that exciting point where it's like, we're almost there, right? We're climbing little by little, doing the things that, nobody else is doing right now, or at least we think nobody else is doing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I understand that totally. And to also add on something else as well is because, like, I'm also opening up on a PR agency as well because at the request of different CEO friends that I've had, and they was like, "Dude, what the fuck? Why don't you help us, dude? Help us like grow, like help us, strategize ourselves to put us into place because some of them having problems with investment, branding, strategic partnerships, and things like that. And they're like, dude, all that shit. Like, why aren't you helping us? And I was like, yeah, I just don't feel like I have enough time to do it. So I was like, you know what? To answer some of your demands, I'm going to do it. Yeah. A PR agency just so that way if I'm helping out, it's done through a source and I can itemize it tax wise. And I will do a sorted amount of things and the PR realm, and I will do some things like even coaching, CEO coaching, things like that, because like, we're in this time where certain things matter that existed prior, but there are also new things that matter, and what that may be is like, for example, we're in a stage where, building a brand early on matters. And there's so many different things. And I think you touched on this a couple of minutes ago, that there's so many different intervals or different states that it matters to push you to success. And a lot of people really don't understand smart money matters, right? Not just taking money from anybody. Smart money. How do you strategically get smart money involved? Growth. How do you, grow something from, nothing? Everything. There's so many different maneuvers in different endpoints that you have to strategically get around to kind of get, I don't want to say a perfect place, but a semi-perfect place to position yourself for success. That a lot of people don't realize that there's so many different things and attributes that it takes to actually get there. And they just think it's magic. They think that it's magic that some of these bigger companies all had the same legal firm. They think that it's magic. Like, how did they get acquired? It's like, but when you strategically understand what's going on holistically, how all the pieces of the puzzle are being moved and played. Yep. And that is a bigger variance when you're going there. And even when we're talking about things like, being lean and we're talking about Paul Graham doing things that don't scale, I think when founders go and dig into those type of like logics or sayings, if you will, you gotta really understand what he means by doing things that don't scale, because there are some things, and it's also product. It's product centric too as well. It depends on what type of product you're working on to do certain things that don't scale. So you have to know when to do things that don't scale, because it's like, I think when people hear that shit, they're like, "Oh, dude, do things that don't scale." Paul Graham. It's like, "Oh yeah, but he means like this way." Yeah, like like you can't do that exactly, and you can't do it, but he can do it in this way. So what he meant is like doing things that don't scale. But he also, when he said those things to like guys like Airbnb, he was backing them up. And Paul Graham had he had some clout and he had some money and he gave them some money. So they weren't doing things completely that weren't scaled, right? They had a system that was behind them that was kind of structured. It was new, but he had some type of influence. And what they did that didn't scale was go to, door to door and start doing the cameras and start doing a lot of things that they would have normally paid, outsourced other people to do. And they did that. So, it didn't seem like it would scale, because it's not fundamentally normal for that to be able to do those things and run a company. Like, you're not supposed to be the camera guy, the photographer, the maintenance man. Or something. Yeah. Like, dude, when do you have time to do the CEO work? I mean, come on, bro. Like, what's going on? Like, you trying to be the bank? You trying to be the investor? What's good, dude? Come on, pick a job. What's next? You gonna be the janitor, basketball player? I don't know. You're the camera guy too, man, bro. You were the CEO. I just saw you. Like, come on, guy. Like, but to a certain extent, that is doing things that don't scale. But what I'm saying is, you have to understand strategically when to do those things and how to do those things within your company. And I think a lot of people end up taking those certain sayings that Paul Graham and different others like Steve Jobs will start saying, and they'll just like take it and run with it. And it's like, dude, no, but he meant, you got to fucking, don't take that. You got to understand the context of what he said. There was Paul Graham behind them, right? Telling them to do things that don't scale. It wasn't like, they were just sitting by themselves and saying, hey man, let's do things that don't scale. And they just read it in a book. It's like, no, they fucking had Paul Graham behind them, give them advice and tell them to don't do things that don't scale. Paul Graham scaled. But the other things that
he gets it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I hear you.
I just think that's there's a lot of things that, when people say things, they just don't take into account the backstory of how it got there. And, when they start looking at Instagram, they start looking at Twitter. A lot of people don't know that, what was his name? Kevin Systrom? Yeah. Kevin Systrom of Instagram. He had worked at Twitter before it was Twitter. It was Odeo. A lot of people don't know that. So, he's also really close with the Facebook founders before Facebook was massive. They actually asked him to work there. But a lot of people don't know that he had this crazy ass fucking network before he even built Instagram. Right? And then he grabbed Mike, what was it? Mike Keeger, the co-founder who was an engineer. He was originally from Brazil. He, through an investor, he was brought on to be the co-founder.
Yeah.
It's a network. It wasn't so easy.
Sometimes they say it's not what you know, but who you know, right?
Who you know matters. That used to be my slogan of one of my first startups. And it's like, it's very true that who you know matters, and then what you know, and then the structure of how it all goes together. Because you can put something together and it may look like it works, but if you don't understand fundamentally the structure and how it grew to be where it needed to be, the foundation, then it's really hard to do things that don't scale to an extent because you don't really understand the whole infrastructure unless you get lucky. But even Whitney Wolf, if we even talk about her, how she built, Bumble and from Tinder, like it was a brilliant mechanism, but her mechanism wouldn't work if she didn't have that network effect and that network knowledge. She understood sororities and fraternities, right? And she also had influence in the sororities and fraternities. And then she had a little cash flow to go ahead and push in there, right? So she wasn't like just walking in broke, oh, fuck, I'm going to do things that don't scale. No, she had fucking money behind her. Same thing when she was with Tinder. She had money behind her, and she had the know-how of how to use that
money to get that network effect.
But not exactly, but with less money. Somebody else who would have had tons of money could have way more money than what she had behind her and wouldn't have been able to execute because she had the know-how of how the college and sororities and fraternities actually work. And she also had the influence in those networks because she had just freshly got out of them and she was an influencer in those networks. So this is partially how she was able to do things that didn't scale. Because technically, we're saying do things that don't scale, but technically she did things that did scale because she had an understanding of a network and she did it to scale, but it looked like she wasn't doing it. She went from school to school and she just opened up and gave them like little fucking prizes and tech. Okay, if it was that fucking simple, anybody can do it, right? Anybody can get in their fucking car and go to and build an app and get a bunch of people and say, let's go, we got this app, blah, blah. But it's like, she strategically, efficiently did it at each school. She didn't spend days and days and days just dicking around, figuring out how to grow this thing. She went directly to the sororities and fraternities that she knew would cause this app to grow. And she knew she had a system of how she would, infiltrate the actual campus. And she knew exactly how long it actually would take. And then she would go to the next one and the next one. And it was all based off of a systematic structure she had in her fucking head. Same thing with Lyft. When I worked at Lyft, when they contacted me originally, it was like, hey, we want to differentiate ourselves from Uber. And I was like, okay, well, fuck. It's like a girl that I helped mentor, her brother was in school and they had contacted him. And then they said, hey, I know a guy who can help you with that. His name's Tavares. You guys need to talk to him. And so they contacted me, BizDev, not going to say the name, but, and they were like, hey, why don't you work with us at Lyft? Like, what ideas would you have? And so what I did is I came in and I said, hey, we can create this tier system and, we can do these within the campuses, right? And you guys have those unique numbers and unique codes and we can just do these for these different ambassadors. And I talked to the two guys, which was the girl that I mentored, her brother, and they were already working with some other kid who was doing something similar. And I was just like, yeah, we can do this and we can do that. And then we can just keep on spreading it. It kept on growing. And there you have it. Now Lyft is your driver with a buddy. And it's not just like, what's that other company? Uber? Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it's Lyft. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Like, you have to do things strategically, and you can't just kind of throw darts at a board and hope, or throw, what's the expression? Throw shit at the wall hoping it sticks or whatever.
Yeah.
You can't just do that. You have
spray
to
and pray.
A plan. Yeah. So sometimes, my phone's almost going to die. Stick to with crap.
Go ahead. We're almost out here anyways.
Yeah, there's you have to do things strategically. Like, you have to take risks, and sometimes you have to do things that you don't know if it's going to work or not. But again, it's a calculated risk. You're not just throwing darts at the board with your eyes closed, hoping you're going to get a bullseye, because you're probably not. You have to do things. You have to take risks, but they have to be calculated. They have to be strategic. And yeah,
I mean, because like if you think about it, if you look at girls like Whitney Wolf, they had Tinder. With Tinder, the other two guys were doing like little frat parties that they were doing, big house parties in LA, right? And UCLA and stuff like that. That was not really working. But what Whitney Wolf said is like, hey, well, I've got this better idea. I'm going to infiltrate my sororities and my sororities and fraternity, my sorority sisters and my fraternity brothers. And I'm going to go to the school that I went to. And then I'm going to go ahead and bounce off of those networks. So she went down over to Texas and she did it, and it just blew up again. That's when Tinder blew up to be what it was, when she came up with this whole strategic way to go through her college network all over again, where she had influence. And that's why Tinder blew to where it is now to this day. I don't believe that it would ever blew to be as massive as it is now if it was not for Whitney Wolf. And she proved that again when she went and did Bumble and then moved to Texas again. This other rich freaking founder gave her a bunch of money, said, hey, look, I want to just like give Bumble give you a bunch of money. Why don't you just do something else again? Oh, cool. Why don't you just do what you were already doing? Okay, I'll do Bumble. I'm already suing the other guy, at Tinder, because that way I can go ahead and keep myself in a situation where I can still build something that's a competitor and they still have to pay me. And I don't have NDAs that will hold me down. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Flawless execution.
Yeah, I agree.
But I guess what I'm just saying is in general is like, what you're doing, I don't think it's easy. I think it is a journey, and it is an amazing thing to actually be in a startup and to get that itch and to cause growth. And I know that the marketing is a big, strong thing. Who you network with, who you do business with, who you take money from, all is going to matter to you. And, don't forget this. One thing that I always thought that was intriguing is that no matter if it was Whitney Wolf or if it was the Yik Yak guys, is they killed it in fucking branding. And they had the money to do it, but they killed it in branding. Their branding was amazing. Like if you go to colleges, like you just see like the green, and I forgot the actual animal it was, but
it's a bull.
It was a yak or some shit.
Bison or a bison, I think. Yeah, it's a bison, I think.
Yeah, yak or bison, whatever it was. Anyways, so this
looks like bison.
This animal is what they used at every single event they did, and they gave away these koozies. They created a tier system for the points. I mean, it was pretty massive. And it was just like Yik Yak, and it sounded fun. It was probably the weirdest startup name besides TikTok at the time, as we have now. But other than that, I mean, and Whitney Wolf did the Bumble. She did the bee theme, and Tinder was the fire theme. So these themes made it easily marketable. But I think Yik Yak was one of the best marketing college apps ever out.
Yeah. It's like Snapchat, same thing, right? The ghost.
But Snapchat didn't even do it as well as Yik Yak, because like the ghost didn't have actual memorabilia on campus like that. Not like the way Snapchat. I mean, not the way Yik Yak did. I mean, it had a similar thing, but they had Yik Yak had physical points, and they had ambassadors that you can go and grab the swag, and you would for whatever amount of whatever you put that price point at as the points,
whatever the point system was.
Yeah.
What's that? Well, you got to think about Snapchat. Everyone thought Snapchat was going to die when Instagram stories came out. It's like Snapchat had such a strong grasp on young people, like high school and college kids, that Instagram stories came out, and Snapchat's still here. 5 years later?
But it solved a different problem though than Instagram stories. And so this is something that I always called out, and I automatically said about Snapchat stories versus Yik Yak. The difference I'm sorry, not Yik Yak, but Instagram stories. is that Snapchat stories, what you had to always understand is that Snapchat was something that allowed you to have this inferior messaging, right? Where it disappeared, right? And you had no real identity towards it. You had like some type of pseudonym, right?
Yeah.
You go on Instagram, you kind of have some type of pseudonym, but it's attached to some sense of real identity, right? And then things didn't disappear. It stayed there originally for a little while. I mean, you kind of saw who that person was who was posting it. So you kind of had a direct link of who that person was. But Snapchat was deleting all of your messages, no matter if it was videos or stories, it just was deleting
everything.
Right? Whereas Instagram only deleted what? The video, I think originally it was like, at first I think they started out from 48 hours, then went down to 24 hours. It changed originally when it first launched out, and it went back down to the actual Snapchat amount of duration of time. But still, your messages are still there. You still have a profile with all of your photos and stuff like that. So it makes people feel a little bit, do I share something there? And then you have the likes. The like pushes this dopamine rush of also fear, right? Fear of rejection. Right? On Snapchat, you don't care who sees it and if they even watched it. And you also you don't see a number of how many people actually watched it like that, like directly on the actual photo. So those are things that stop people from sharing so much off of Instagram stories versus Snapchat stories. So there still was a big different direction. So I never saw this whole, everybody's going to stop using Snapchat because of that. But it did go down. It did go down.
Yeah.
There was massive usage.
But it's still here, right? Like if you look at 5 years later, Snapchat's still around, like killing it on college campuses, right?
But because you have that anonymity, right? You have that autonomous, I mean, that whole, I can disappear, right? So when you have that whole, like, I can disappear and there's no trace of that, and then nobody can follow you and see who my followers are. So there's certain types of people who might want to exist in this place, right? And, they might want to do whatever they want to do. It's just like Bitcoin and these other types of coins. They don't have an actual centralized bank, right? It's decentralized. So certain people might want to live on both points if they want to do certain things. Depends on who you are. If you want to be more private, stay on Snapchat. If you don't really care about being private, you want to be a little fanboy, be on Instagram. It works for you. But I will also say one other thing to add into that. The growth of Instagram was unique because, not Instagram, Snapchat, because you mentioned something about it, like a lot of younger students and stuff like that using it. What was unique about, Kevin Spiegel's story is when Kevin Spiegel started up Snapchat, he actually started it up in his sorority and fraternity and over at Stanford. But it wasn't actually something that was actually being like adopted. A lot of people weren't using it. I think after a year of having the application out, he only had 1,000 users, right? Then randomly, his mom gives it to his niece or whatever you want to call it, and of the family, and she's like, "Here's this app. Just your uncle, whatever, made it. Blah blah blah, whatever." And so she goes on the dang nagged app, and she starts spreading it around school, and they start using it for taking photos of messages and stuff like that, and of tests, things like that, whatever, because they stopped allowing them to actually write and pass around notes. So they started using it for that. And then he noticed on the servers, there was a surge during a random time that he didn't recognize. And he was like, what the fuck is this? Like, why is it at this certain time? Why is this crazy surge out of nowhere? And then he backtracked it and figured out, hey, wait, my mom gave it to such and such of the family, and she took it to high school. I mean, she took it to like her middle school or elementary school, and it spread through there. So now you have this thing that got dominance almost by accident, because when he tried to grow it on himself, he did events, nothing happened. He paid money in marketing, nothing happened. But randomly, he gives it to, a relative. She goes to school and she starts using it for a different way, and it blossoms and grows to the place that we know of today.
So sometimes it's luck, and you got to be good to be lucky to be good, whatever that expression is, right? So.
Agreed.
Hopefully my story ends something like that. Maybe I just find some random, my mom passes some random kid or something, nephew, whatever, and then they spread it through school, and who knows, maybe Cass is the next Snapchat, right? You never know.
You never know, and you might be that. But, I'd like to also see how you guys have your, your next step of how you guys are going to infiltrate the metaverse, because, that seems like to be the new next thing on the social media horizon is how can you position yourself on the metaverse? Ooh. So I'd like to see you guys in the metaverse too, man. I want to see you guys selling T-shirts and shit and swag. So it's great having you on.
We've got some we've got some ideas too, especially with like on the digital space that we're trying to do. That I can't say yet because we haven't fully hashed it out yet. But we've started discussing some things, and I know we got some stuff coming out probably later this month or early December. So I'll definitely keep you in the loop too.
Well, Rick, it was great having you on the actual show, man. It was great having this fun-ass conversation. We had some technical difficulties there. We went up, went down.
A couple right.
ones. We got some emotional debates. We got some cancel culture conversations going out. We talked about the metaverse. We talked about a lot of stuff. But definitely would like to have you back on another other time, and let's stay in touch. And let's. I want to get those photos you were talking about earlier too as well.
Yeah, man. I'll send them over. Tavares, man, appreciate you having me on, and thanks for any listeners, man. Appreciate you guys listening. If you made it to the end of this too, I appreciate you guys.
And where can anybody find out more about what you got going on?
You can follow me on Instagram. It's at your pal Rick, or you can go find me on LinkedIn, Ricky Liorti, or anywhere online. Just Ricky Liorti, your pal Rick on TikTok, Instagram, and yeah, I have a crappy website too, liorti.com. Don't go there, but yeah, or you just download Cast and message me on there. It's at Ricky on Cast. If you follow me there, I'll follow you right back, and you can see some of the questions I asked.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else between or over that or whatever it may be. However you identify, you can reach Ricky at those places. That's right. He's the new Tom. There you go.
Appreciate it, Tavares. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen,
The Kids in the Room Podcast.
That's right.
Brought to you by Move Faces TV. Let's go.